Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. A hand shot out from beneath the covers, fumbling blindly to silence the intrusive noise. As consciousness slowly seeped in, something felt off. The bed seemed different, softer somehow. The room smelled of lavender and vanilla, a far cry from the usual musty scent of unwashed laundry. Eyelids fluttered open, revealing an unfamiliar ceiling. Panic began to set in as the realization dawned that this was not home. Sitting up abruptly, long strands of chestnut hair fell forward, obscuring the view. A startled gasp escaped unfamiliar lips as delicate hands pushed the hair back, revealing a room decorated in soft pastels and floral patterns. "What the?" The voice that spoke was high-pitched and decidedly feminine. Heart racing, eyes darted around the room, taking in the ballet posters on the walls, the vanity covered in makeup and hair accessories, and the closet bursting with colorful dresses and leotards. Stumbling out of bed, legs wobbled unsteadily, unused to the new center of gravity. The mirror on the closet door revealed a reflection that was both strange and hauntingly familiar. A young woman, perhaps in her mid-20s, with wide green eyes and a heart-shaped face, stared back in shock. "This can't be happening," she whispered, reaching out to touch the cool glass. The woman in the mirror mimicked the movement, confirming the impossible truth. "I'm Emily?" Memories flooded in, a confusing jumble of two lives lived simultaneously. Ballet classes and soccer matches, girls' nights out and beers with the guys, first kiss and first heartbreak, all experienced through different eyes, different bodies. A knock at the door startled her out of her reverie. "Emily, are you up? You're going to be late for rehearsal." Yes, I'm up," she called back, her voice shaky. "I'll be down in a minute." Panic threatened to overwhelm her as she realized she had no idea how to navigate this new life. But as she stood there staring at her reflection, something shifted. The memories of being Edward began to fade like a dream upon waking. In their place, Emily's life came into sharper focus. She remembered her upcoming performance, the grueling rehearsals, the thrill of dancing on stage. With each passing moment, Edward's life felt more and more distant, until it was nothing more than a vague, unsettling dream. Taking a deep breath, Emily squared her shoulders and began to get ready for the day. She pulled on a leotard and tights, muscle memory guiding her movements as she twisted her hair into a tight bun. Grabbing her dance bag, she hurried downstairs. Her mother was in the kitchen, a steaming mug of coffee in hand. "There you are, sleepyhead. I was beginning to think you'd sleep right through your alarm." "Sorry, Mom. I had the strangest dream last night," Emily said, pouring herself a quick cup of coffee. Her mother's eyebrows raised. "Oh, what about—" Emily paused, trying to recall the details that were already slipping away. I can't really remember now. Something about being someone else, I think." "Well, dreams are funny things," her mother said with a smile. "Now hurry up or you'll be late for rehearsal. You know how Madame Bouchard gets when anyone's tardy." Gulping down the last of her coffee, Emily grabbed an apple for the road and kissed her mother's cheek. "Thanks, Mom. I'll see you later." The crisp autumn air nipped at her cheeks as she jogged to the nearby subway station. As she waited for the train, she couldn't shake the feeling that something momentous had occurred. But with each passing minute, the sensation faded, replaced by the anticipation of the day ahead. The rehearsal studio was already bustling with activity when Emily arrived. She quickly changed into her pointe shoes, joining the other dancers at the barre for warm-ups. "Cutting it a bit close, weren't you?" her friend Zoe whispered as they moved through the familiar exercises. Emily grinned sheepishly. "Overslept. Had the weirdest dream last night." Before Zoe could respond, Madame Bouchard's sharp voice cut through the chatter. "Ladies, less talking, more dancing. We open in 3 weeks, and there's still much work to be done." The hours flew by in a flurry of pirouettes, grand jetés, and pas de deux. By the time the rehearsal ended, Emily's muscles ached, but she felt exhilarated. This was what she lived for, the challenge, the artistry, the sheer joy of movement. As she was packing up her things, Madame Bouchard approached her.
Emily, a word, please.
Nervously, Emily followed her instructor to a quiet corner of the studio.
Is everything all right, madame?
The older woman's stern expression softened slightly.
More than all right, my dear. Your dancing today was inspired. There was a new depth to your performance, a maturity I haven't seen before. Whatever's changed, keep it up. You may just be ready for a principal role in our next production.
Emily's heart soared at the praise. Thank you, madame.
I'll continue to work hard.
As she left the studio, a spring in her step despite her exhaustion, Emily felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This was her life, her passion, her future. The strange dream of being someone else faded further into the recesses of her mind, replaced by the excitement of what lay ahead. The next few weeks passed in a blur of rehearsals, costume fittings, and late-night practices. Emily threw herself into her role with a dedication that surprised even herself. There were moments when a fleeting memory of another life would surface, the feel of a soccer ball at her feet, the weight of a briefcase in her hand. But they were quickly pushed aside, dismissed as flights of fancy. Opening night arrived, and the theater buzzed with nervous energy. As Emily stood in the wings, waiting for her cue, she felt a calm settle over her. This was where she belonged. The music swelled, and she stepped onto the stage. As she danced, she lost herself in the music, in the story she was telling through movement. The audience faded away, and there was nothing but the dance. When the final curtain fell, the theater erupted in applause. Emily's chest heaved as she took her bows, tears of joy streaming down her face. As she looked out at the sea of faces, she caught sight of a man in the front row. For a brief moment, she felt a jolt of recognition, as if she knew him from somewhere. But then he was lost in the crowd, and the sensation passed. Backstage was chaos as dancers, crew members, and well-wishers crowded around, offering congratulations. Emily hugged her fellow dancers, still riding high on the adrenaline of the performance. "Emily!" a deep voice called out over the din. She turned to see a tall, handsome man making his way through the crowd, a bouquet of roses in his hands. "Michael!" she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him. "You made it!" He laughed, hugging her tightly. "Of course I did. I wouldn't miss your big night for anything." As he pulled back to hand her the flowers, their eyes met. Emily felt her heart skip a beat, just as it had when they'd first met in that coffee shop 2 years ago. "You were incredible up there," Michael said softly, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "I've never seen anything so beautiful." Emily blushed, burying her face in the fragrant roses. "Thank you. I'm so glad you were here to see it." "Always," he promised, leaning in to kiss her softly. The next morning, Emily woke to the sun streaming through her bedroom window. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the memories of the previous night. The performance, the accolades, Michael's proposal over a late dinner. She sat up with a start, her left hand flying to her face. There, on her ring finger, sparkled the diamond that confirmed it wasn't just a dream. A giddy laugh escaped her as she flopped back onto the pillows. As she lay there, staring at the ring, Emily felt a sense of contentment wash over her. This was her life, full of passion and love and endless possibilities. Any lingering doubts or strange dreams of other lives faded away, leaving only excitement for the future that lay ahead. The months that followed were a whirlwind of wedding planning, performances, and building a life with Michael. Emily continued to dance, her talent and dedication earning her more prominent roles and critical acclaim. Michael's law career was also taking off, and together they created a home filled with love and laughter. On their wedding day, as Emily walked down the aisle towards Michael, she felt as though her entire life had been leading to this moment. The ceremony was a blur of happy tears and heartfelt vows, culminating in a kiss that promised a lifetime of love and support. As they swayed together during their first dance as husband and wife, Michael whispered in her ear, "I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." Emily looked up at him, her heart full to bursting. "Me neither. I feel like I've been waiting for you my whole life." The years passed, bringing with them new challenges and joys. Emily continued to dance, eventually becoming a principal dancer with the company. Michael's law firm flourished, and they settled into a comfortable life in a cozy brownstone. It was on a crisp autumn morning, not unlike the one when Emily had first awakened in this life, that everything changed once again. She sat on the edge of the bathtub, staring in disbelief at the little plastic stick in her hand. 2 pink lines stared back at her, confirming what she had begun to suspect. "Michael?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "Can you come here a moment?" She heard his footsteps approaching, then a gentle knock on the door.
"Everything okay in there?"
Taking a deep breath, Emily opened the door. Michael's concerned expression quickly turned to one of confusion as he took in the scene before him. What's going on?" Wordlessly, she held out the pregnancy test. Michael's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Are we? Emily nodded, a smile breaking across her face. "We're going to have a baby." Michael let out a whoop of joy, lifting Emily off her feet and spinning her around. As he set her down, he cupped her face in his hands, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I love you so much," he said softly, before dropping to his knees and pressing a gentle kiss to her still flat stomach. "And I love you too, little one." The pregnancy brought with it a bittersweet realization for Emily. She knew that her days as a professional dancer were numbered, at least for the foreseeable future. But as she felt the first flutters of movement in her womb, she found that the trade-off was more than worth it. She danced for as long as she safely could, giving one final performance when she was 5 months along. As the curtain fell on that last show, Emily felt a chapter of her life closing. But rather than sadness, she felt only excitement for what lay ahead. The day their daughter was born was the happiest of Emily's life. As she held the tiny bundle in her arms, marveling at the perfect little fingers and toes, she felt a love so fierce it took her breath away. "Welcome to the world, Lily," she whispered, pressing a soft kiss to the baby's forehead. Michael sat on the edge of the hospital bed, his arm around Emily, gazing down at their daughter in awe. "She's perfect," he murmured. As Emily looked from her daughter to her husband, she felt a sense of completion. This was her family, her life, and it was more wonderful than anything she could have imagined. The years continued to pass, bringing with them the joys and challenges of parenthood. Emily found a new passion in teaching dance to children, opening a small studio of her own. Michael became a partner at his law firm, working hard but always making time for his family. Lily grew into a vibrant, curious child with her mother's grace and her father's quick wit. On her 5th birthday, Emily took her to see her first ballet. As they sat in the darkened theater, Lily's eyes wide with wonder, Emily felt a familiar thrill run through her. "Mommy," Lily whispered as the dancers twirled across the stage. "I want to do that when I grow up." Emily smiled, squeezing her daughter's hand. "You can do anything you set your mind to, sweetheart." That night, as Emily tucked Lily into bed, the little girl asked, "Mommy, did you always know you wanted to be a dancer?" Emily paused, a strange feeling washing over her. For a moment, she had a fleeting image of a different life, one with soccer balls and business meetings. But as quickly as it came, it faded away. "I think I did," she said softly, smoothing Lily's hair. "Sometimes it feels like I've been dancing my whole life." As she turned out the light and closed the door, Emily felt a sense of déjà vu. She shook her head, dismissing the feeling. This was her life, full of love, family, and the enduring passion for dance. Whatever strange dreams or fleeting thoughts of other lives might surface, this was her reality, and it was more beautiful than anything she could have imagined. The years continued to unfold, each one bringing new joys and challenges to Emily's life. As Lily grew, her passion for dance blossomed, reminding Emily of her own journey. The studio Emily had opened became a second home for both of them, filled with the sounds of music and laughter. On Lily's 10th birthday, Emily watched with pride as her daughter performed in her first recital. The grace and poise Lily displayed on stage brought tears to Emily's eyes, stirring memories of her own performances years ago.
She's a natural,
Michael whispered, squeezing Emily's hand as they sat in the audience. Emily nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. As Lily took her final bow, Emily felt a strange mix of emotions: pride, love, and an inexplicable sense of déjà vu. That night, as Emily tucked Lily into bed, her daughter asked, "Mom, do you ever wonder what life would be like if you weren't a dancer?" The question caught Emily off guard. For a moment, she felt disoriented, as if standing on the edge of a vast chasm of forgotten memories. But then, the feeling passed, replaced by the certainty of her chosen path. "I can't imagine being anything else, sweetheart," she said, kissing Lily's forehead.
dance is part of who I am.
As the years passed, Emily found herself facing new challenges. The physical demands of dance began to take their toll, and she found herself spending more time teaching and less time performing. It was a bittersweet transition, but one she embraced with grace. Lily, now a teenager, was following in her mother's footsteps with a dedication that both thrilled and terrified Emily. She recognized the fire in her daughter's eyes, the same passion that had driven her own career. "I want to audition for the National Ballet Academy," Lily announced one evening over dinner. Emily and Michael exchanged glances. They knew this moment would come, but it still felt surreal.
Are you sure, honey?
Michael asked.
It's a big commitment.
Lily nodded, her chin set in determination. "I've never been more sure of anything." As Emily helped Lily prepare for the audition, she found herself reliving her own journey. The long hours of practice, the aching muscles, the exhilaration of perfecting a difficult sequence, it all came flooding back. The day of the audition arrived, and Emily found herself more nervous than Lily. As they stood outside the imposing building of the National Ballet Academy, Emily felt a strange sensation wash over her. For a brief moment, the world seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was uncertain. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily's voice snapped Emily back to the present. "I'm fine, sweetie," Emily said, shaking off the odd feeling. "Just a bit of nerves. You're going to be amazing." As she watched Lily disappear into the building, Emily was struck by a sense of déjà vu so strong it nearly knocked her off her feet. She stumbled, catching herself against a nearby wall. "Ma'am, are you all right?" A concerned passerby stopped to help. Emily blinked, the world coming back into focus. "Yes, thank you, I'm fine." But as she straightened up, something had changed. The memories that had been her entire life suddenly felt fragile, like a dream upon waking. Images flashed through her mind, a life she had never lived, yet felt intimately familiar. She saw herself as a man named Edward, living a life so different from her own that it seemed impossible. Yet with each passing moment, the memories grew stronger, more insistent. Emily, or was it Edward, stumbled to a nearby bench, mind reeling. 2 lives, 2 realities existed side by side in her consciousness. She closed her eyes, trying to make sense of the conflicting memories. When she opened them again, the world had shifted once more. She found herself back in Edward's body, lying in bed, the harsh buzzing of an alarm clock piercing the morning silence. For a moment, Edward lay still, the memories of Emily's life, the dance, the family, the years of joy and struggle, fading like a vivid dream. He felt a profound sense of loss, as if he had lived an entire lifetime in the span of a night. Slowly, he sat up, running a hand through his short hair. The room around him was familiar. His room, with its sports posters and cluttered desk, yet it felt strange, almost alien after the years he had spent as Emily. "Edward, are you up?" his mother's voice called from downstairs. "You're going to be late for work." "I'm up," he called back, his voice rough with sleep and emotion. As he went through the motions of getting ready for the day, Edward couldn't shake the lingering feelings from his dream. The love he had felt for Michael and Lily, the passion for dance, the sense of fulfillment, it all felt so real. Throughout the day, he found himself going through the motions of his normal routine, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept expecting to see Michael's smile, to hear Lily's laughter. The absence of the family he had never really had left an ache in his chest. That evening, as Edward sat alone in his apartment, he found himself looking up ballet classes in the area. Something about the grace and power of dance called to him, echoing the passion he had felt in his dream. On an impulse, he signed up for a beginner's class. As he submitted the registration, he felt a spark of excitement, an echo of the joy Emily had felt when dancing. The next week, as Edward stood at the bar, awkwardly attempting his first plie, he caught sight of himself in the mirror. For a moment, he could have sworn he saw Emily looking back at him, a soft smile on her face. The image faded as quickly as it had appeared, but it left Edward with a sense of peace. Perhaps, he thought, some dreams were meant to change us, to show us parts of ourselves we had never known existed. As he threw himself into learning the basics of ballet, Edward felt as though he was honoring the life he had lived as Emily. And though that life had been just a dream, the passion and love he had experienced continued to shape his waking hours. In quiet moments, Edward found himself wondering about the nature of reality and consciousness. Had he truly lived another life as Emily? Was it simply an incredibly vivid dream? Or was there something more at play, some cosmic joke or profound truth about the nature of existence? He never found a satisfactory answer to these questions, but as the years passed, Edward found that it didn't really matter. The experience had changed him, opening his eyes to new possibilities and passions. He continued with his ballet classes, finding joy in the discipline and artistry of dance. Though he never achieved the level of skill Emily had possessed, he found a sense of fulfillment in the practice that enriched his life in ways he had never expected. And sometimes, in the quiet moments just before sleep, Edward would close his eyes and reach out, hoping to once again touch the life he had lived as Emily. Though those moments never came again, the memory of that other life, real or imagined, continued to inspire him, reminding him of the infinite possibilities that exist within each of us. As he drifted off to sleep each night, Edward couldn't help but wonder, what adventures awaited him in his dreams? What other lives might he live? What other selves might he become? The possibilities were endless, and with each new day, he looked forward to discovering what lay beyond the veil of sleep and consciousness. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.